Welcome back. Tuesday lunchtime. Rofhiwa, Madzena, the big story in business today, that rebound in GDP, but we can't start popping the champagne corks just yet.
That's right, Jeremy. So the country's gross domestic product saw an expected surge in growth between July and September this year. It rose by an annualized rate of 66.1% after contracting by 51% during the lockdown in the prior 3 months. Manufacturing, trade and mining were some of the biggest drivers of growth as lockdown restrictions eased in the third quarter. However, the recovery remains vulnerable with power shortages and slow structural reforms likely to weigh on sentiment. The country needs a growth rate of at least 5% to remedy its unemployment crisis, but current projected growth for the year is expected to be minus 8%. Joining me now to talk more about this is Maarten Ackerman, who is the chief economist at an advisory partner at Citadel Asset Management. Maarten, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So a remarkable improvement on the third quarter economic growth figure, but should we really be celebrating?
Yeah, I think a word of caution is correct. You know, there's a huge statistical base effect in this number. You know, we're measuring from a very, very low base, and therefore one would expect this kind of rebound. Having said that, you know, the economy opened up and a lot of industries got back to work, but we also had the tailwind of the global economy picking up, opening up, so that added as well. And we were fortunate that, you know, we had less load shedding compared to other quarters. So those are some positives that's supporting the number. But I think generally speaking, you know, what we are seeing is a base effect more than anything else. So, and that's why it's important to look at maybe the annual number. So compared to last year this time, we're still down about 6% in terms of economic activity.
Right. Another positive thing here, Maarten, effectively we are out of a recession, but we can't expect significant growth in the fourth quarter. Estimates, as I've mentioned, minus 8% of GDP growth this year, and we need around 5% to do things like create jobs and the like.
Yes, yeah. So technically, we're now out of the recession. You know, we had a number of negative quarters. Unfortunately, went into the crisis already in recession. Now that we have a positive, technically, yes, we're out of the recession. But I think what's more important is whether this can be sustained going forward. You're 100% right that the last quarter for 2020 is going to be a softer quarter. Again, a base effect, measuring it from this massive rebound that we've seen in the third quarter. It should be a positive quarter, but for the year, we're definitely going to end with quite a large negative in terms of economic growth. But we are likely to see some growth continue into 2021. And, you know, I always say that, yes, 5% would be great if we can get there. But, you know, the first thing that we need to achieve is to actually outpace the growth in the population, which currently is about 1.5% per annum. The minute we can do that, then at least we're growing the economic cake more than what we're growing the population. And then in time, we can start to address the unemployment issue that we face.
Perhaps more significant here is the fact that this economy will still contract by 8%, as we've just discussed. And if government and other stakeholders don't change that, we're going to see that millions are going to remain jobless. But Maarten, the big question is, how do they begin creating the change, that low-hanging fruit that government could reach for to change the tide?
Yeah, I think, you know, to be honest, compared again to a year or 2 years ago, there are some very positive things happening on the ground. I guess the question and the frustration from business side is that it is maybe just not fast enough. But we are definitely focusing on sorting out corruption. There's some very good progress on some of the SOEs, especially Eskom. There are already reforms in the pipeline, but I think it's just not enough and quick enough yet. But if we at least can continue with those kind of changes, that will definitely pave the way, start to address the negative sentiment and create an environment where economic growth can be positive and also more sustainable. You know, we were experiencing very volatile economic growth over the past couple of years, the last 5 years, and that just adds to a lot of business uncertainty. So I think we're on the right track, but what we would like to see is probably a little bit more urgent reforms in terms of some of the hurdles that's keeping us from getting back to possible long-term capacity growth.
Maarten Ackerman, as always, thank you for your insights. He's the Chief Economist and Advisory Partner at Citadel Asset Management.